I'm starting to feel the Virgo Mercury thing. And the ranting and the nitpicking thing. And so I'm just going to say this. Because I hate the fact, too, I don't know if any other Scorpio Mercuries, or if you have your Mercury in your 6th house per se. I don't know if it has to be the combination of it being a water sign in Mercury in the 6th house or what. But when I'm in the midst of doing my daily routine shit, FYI, you know, hence the 6th house stuff, like shower is when I get the best fucking ideas. So my bathroom looks crazy. I've got whiteboard markers all over the place. I stopped at least hoarding notebooks in there, but now I think that just makes me run out of the bathroom and go write it down somewhere else. Or permanently write it in a marker on the walls of the bathroom. And yeah, granted, I don't do that in every bathroom, so don't worry. I just didn't mind because I got to remodel mine and whatever. But anyway, so there's one fucking thing that's been annoying the shit out of me. Oh, well, it's not a one fucking thing. It's something that I've thought about. So, the feminist pandemic, as far as I'm concerned, is so out of control. And actually a lot of what, like that whiteboard that I posted about on Facebook, it coincides with that. So this is kind of like a train of thought that I'm going on. So instead of men, or, you know, just people from both sides of the fucking genders, and I say genders meaning two, because I'm not even gonna go there, you are both to blame for feminism. And let me explain why. So there is the grandiose gap that is the delusion of the typical narcissistic personality person. Okay? So when somebody feels that like they have a shortcoming of some kind, they get what they call Napoleon syndrome, where Napoleon felt like he was so big because he was so short. Okay, so during the Victorian and the Edwardian, whatever, I would say that weird, Edwardian eras, so that would have been like, you know, essentially when the United States specifically got going with its own culture, more or less. Women were coddled, sheltered, and protected like precious flowers. That was how society was. That would be how the sociological norms were instilled. It was the men who then got to court them, cater them, take them everywhere, make sure they're being babysat, watched, and that sort of thing. Somewhere down the line, men decided when the women felt they needed to project this sense of independence to feel like they're not caged, that they started getting bossy, ranty, and then started insinuating that they are more intelligent than their other half, their husband, or their male figures in their life, etc., etc. And then somewhere along the line, instead of, I'm not saying that it would have been to the point where it should have been abusive, but that's when the reasonable, sensible person would have stepped in, aka one of the men at that time, and said, "Hun, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, but you don't really know how this works," specifically whatever she's ranting about. I was like, because it works like this, this, and this. Instead of confronting the situation and straightening it out and teaching her differently and having a dialogue about it, which we all know men are very awful at that, for the most part, they just humored her and kind of insinuated that she might be right. And that is where it all started from. If you feed into the narcissistic supply, or you feed into the delusion, meaning that you humor what the narcissist or the person that's developing neurosis or whatever is actually insinuating, they will start to believe it because nobody challenges their ideas. Okay? And then it snowballs way out of control. Shit only rolls downhill. Okay? So now think of it, speed up to now. Now in modern times, obviously those sociological norms are no longer instilled. And now women have taken it way beyond what it ever needed to be. And then on top of that now, we're going the complete opposite. As opposed, I'm not saying that the marriages back, during the Victorian era were, happily ever after. But they stayed together because that was a cultural kind of pressure. So even if they were miserable together, and they took the burdens on of what they created in life together. Their children, their legacy, whatever. They stuck it out to the end. And that's what continued to make the reprocreating part of society, the offspring, be able to be functioning members of said society when they grow up, and then they can be miserable if they choose to be also. Nowadays, nobody has that kind of commitment or discipline to stay into things like that because society no longer pressures us to do so. I think that that's one of the benefits of the organized church that I did respect to that extent. I'm not saying I respect organized religion or the church, but there are some things that were repercussions of the sociological norms that were instilled on society that benefited the whole, and that was one of them. So now we speed forward to the last 20, 30 years. We absolutely have no remnants of any of those kind of social norms now. And now these sheltered women that have had this huge narcissistic grandiose ideation are now raising men and women by themselves as single mothers. And we today, into the millennium, are now witness to the repercussions of a chronic narcissistic culture. Actually, I've read a couple books on that. And that's where this stems from. So when somebody says that feminism, women are to blame for feminism, or certain women are to blame for feminism, or the patriarchy is to blame for feminism, which in a certain context 200 years ago, what I'm getting at is, yes, the patriarchy neglecting women and not treating them like actual human beings is what led to this downward spiral. But everybody is responsible for their own actions. And that's another thing that pisses me off. How people say, I have to react this way. If I use that excuse that I have to kill someone or I have to do this because of how angry they made me, I would have been in prison for life a long fucking time ago. The thought that holds me back, and some of the questionable times throughout my young adolescence and into my early adulthood, to not do that was that I will go to jail forever and it will be all my fault and there's nothing I can do. That sense of reason, that last fucking thought of an argument, was the only thing that kept me from doing what I was going to do. And if I didn't have that, God help the world. That's all I have to say. But anyway, I'm going to go before this sounds incriminating. But feminism is to blame for everybody involved. Because again, being an accessory to a crime makes you just as guilty. That's how the law works. Because yes, it's hard to stand up and be the voice of reason and say what you need to say and do the right thing. The right thing's usually never easy. But if you sat and stood idly by while something horrific was going on and you did nothing, the psychological ramifications and the message that you are sending about that says that this is okay, either because I would do it myself or because I don't have a problem with this. And the one thing that sends to the deviant or the suspect or the predator, the person who is inflicting whatever the fuck I'm talking about, all it says is when they see someone witness it and they do nothing to stop them, is that there's nothing they will do if they do it again. So if you were present or you were the one inflicting it, you are just as guilty. So feminism is the result of early American society's cultural habitual behavior. stop fucking pointing fingers at each other. I don't care if you have a vagina, if you're in between, or if you have a dick or whatever. It's all your fault. I'm gonna stop doing the angry Virgo thing now. I'm gonna go. I think Halamea is having some aspects with my Mars, or my Uranus is having aspects with my Mercury or something. So I'm done. I just needed to do this. And I know that some people will get a kick out of this. And if they don't, then I'm gonna fucking watch it 6 months from now and fucking laugh my ass off because I love to do that.